In a world where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7, 3 champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derreck will show you how to do it the player way.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we are back another week. My name is BK, along with my co-captains Derreck,
Corrupting the system,
and Nate.
Yo.
Absolutely, man. Welcome back, man. I'm changing everything up just a quick second, but and forgive me guys for doing that, but Nate mentioned right before the show that E3 is going on in Los Angeles. When he was going on for his afternoon run, he actually got to see some of the banners and stuff. Tell us about what it's like to be in the city where the electronics gaming mega death sauce of all gaming is happening right there with you.
Very beautiful.
So it takes place in the Los Angeles Convention Center, which is right next to the Staples Center, which is coincidentally on my running route. What it's like, I wish I was in the video games more, because it seems like a lot of fun. I think it starts a couple days. It doesn't start right now, but there's just a lot of people, a lot of people dressed
June
up.
14th.
Yeah, man, exactly. There's been so much going on. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. There's been so much going on in gaming and entertainment, and that I think this week we're going to kind of condense everything into a bit of a Blitzcast. Finally, what you guys don't realize is I messed that a bunch of times before we got on to this take, but I finally got it right. We are going to be doing the Blitzcast, where we go down through sports, going through gaming, through entertainment, TV, movies, all of that stuff that people love to do when they get off of work after working a hard 40 hours. And we're going to help you guys understand how to do your free time the player way. So with no further ado, Derreck, take us on into sports, brother.
Man, NBA talk has just been rampant. Nobody can get away from Golden State Warrior talk, LeBron James talk,
Absolutely.
Kevin Durant talk, and why not? Golden State has done historic things this playoff, and when I say historic things, they had an opportunity to make history Friday night. But before I get to that, I mean, they're a super team. Let's go ahead and call them what they are. They swept Portland, they swept Utah, they swept the Spurs, and they entered the finals at an unprecedented 12-0 to face King James and his Cavaliers. And they had a chance to go 16-0. I mean, they continued to show their dominance with wins of 113-191, 132-113. They had a close one, Game 3. Cleveland put everything they could, but they choked up and didn't score the last 4 minutes and lost that one 118-113. And they decided they were not going to allow Golden State to get that 16-0. They put up a fight this past Friday night to pull out the win at home, 137-116, forcing a Game 5 Monday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's the one where Golden State's going home to play. They're up 3-1. I promise you they're going to go ahead and win that championship Monday night. I originally thought it would have been a 5-game series. It looked like that's what it was going to be, but they will need 5 games to go ahead and handle LeBron James. Now, I know that Cleveland won last year after being down 3-1, but I don't see a repeat of that with Kevin Durant in their lineup being so dominant this year. And I would like to have a little side note. I don't know why everybody's hating on Kevin Durant for going to Golden State to assist his career in getting a championship. People just need to stop hating on him, period, the end. The Cowboys did that back in the 90s when they lost to Deion Sanders. They went and added him and won another Super Bowl. So quit hating on Kevin Durant for being a free agent, choosing to go wherever he wanted to go, and went to a team where he had the best chance to win the championship. So that's just a little side personal note.
Absolutely, man. That man just straight up lined that mug up and dropped bombs on him, man.
Yes.
Absolutely, man. So there's been a lot of I'm glad that you touched on that, because that's been the story, and nobody's really been talking about it a bunch until the Warriors really started dominating the Cavs. But now the story this week that I've been seeing on YouTube is a lot of fan theories about what took place at the end of the playoff series last year. With one of the, I believe it was with one of the Warriors players going out into the parking lot and calling Kevin Durant. Am I saying that correctly?
You're correct. It's a story because back in 2015, when Oklahoma lost to them, and they were up 3-1, and everybody was thinking that they were going to win. Golden State ended up coming back to winning, and then they went on to beat them, face the Cavaliers, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's the buzz. No text messages, screenshots have been produced. But Kevin Durant has been true to his statement of, I was a free agent and I wanted to set myself up with the best chance to get a championship. I don't understand when society started getting so mad at people who are champions. Now, I know teams hated the Cowboys, teams hated the Yankees, teams hate the Patriots for their own reasons, but when did we get so mad at people wanting to bring championships home? Like, you get into the sport, yes, it's a benefit. You get these millions and millions of dollars, but if you have a chance at a championship, that's what you want along with your name. How many players have we thought about in every sport? They're like, oh, they were a good player, but they didn't what? They didn't get a championship. Dan Marino was a wonderful quarterback, but he doesn't have any Super Bowls. Those type of things. So exactly. Kevin Durant, it's okay, man. Do your thing, dude. Go ahead, get the championship, because you weren't going to get it with the Thunder. Like, you were the only person in Oklahoma City. So
it's like,
absolutely,
remember the backlash LeBron got when he took his talons down to South Beach?
Oh yeah,
it was
so much backlash. And what's crazy, what's crazy is, Nate, it wasn't even the same thing. Like, they had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, yes, but they still had a lot of development to even grow as a team, which, Golden State, they had a lot of talent they've already been developing for years. So they didn't go have, like, these aren't like all number one draft picks that they have on their team. These are guys that have been coached up for years that have just become this dominant force. And, that's why they're in the conversation for the best team of all time. Now, of course, basketball had different eras, and I don't know if the physical Bulls of the 90s would be able to play in this day and age against the Warriors, but the Warriors use as little energy as possible when they're just bouncing pretty much from half court, raining down these threes. Steph Curry can get 6 points with a lot less energy than LeBron James can get 6 points, and that's what's proven the difference in this series. And I really feel that they're going to go ahead and handle that tomorrow night. And like I said, if LeBron James after this year goes to Golden State, then what? Then what?
Then there's no basketball next year. They'll just give them a championship.
None. All the teams, they'll be like, all right, let's go ahead and get all stars, and we're just going to play Golden State for the championship, because just give it up. It's a wrap.
Exactly. Well, that's what's up. I appreciate that rundown, Derek. Other sports news.
You got it, man. I'm not the only Derek Lewis in the sports news right now, am I?
Absolutely. That's a great transition right there. We love those fire transitions. Exactly. So basically, another Derek Lewis, Derrick, not to be confused with our co-captain Derek, entered the octagon in Auckland, New Zealand against Mark Hunt. And Derek Lewis was, in many people's mind, he's on an undefeated streak, or he was on an undefeated streak. He was at a 18-4 record at that point. And everyone was expecting him to kind of come in and shock everyone. He's had great performances, but his performance was less than stellar, to say the least. I was binge watching something that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. So I jumped over right as the main event was happening for UFC Fight Night 110. There's a lot of things that went down. You can see those results all over the internet. Normally, in a slower news week, we would do an MMA rundown. But the main thing I want to talk about here, since we have a lot to get into, is the fact that why was Derek Lewis looking kind of slow? He came in, and his game plan was very different. I guess he was a little worried about the range of Mark Hunt, and he was kind of using his kicking to set the range. But he ended up gassing himself out really quickly. By the end of the, I think it was the fourth round. Yeah, the end of the fourth round, he was kind of, he was like holding on to the cage to even catch a breath. And he got hit with a flurry of shots and ended up getting a bit of a early stoppage in many people's mind. In my mind, I thought the stoppage was a little too early, but it still turned out okay. In the end, Mark Hunt ended up dominating. He improved his UFC record to 8-5 with one no contest. It was a weird night because everyone expected Mark Hunt to be the person to come in and retire after this fight, and it sounded in his speech like he was going to be saying that. But the weird twist of fate is that he said, I got a little bit left in me. If I had lost tonight, I would have retired. But obviously, it's a pretty good feeling to win. I know Derrick Lewis is from the hood, but this is my hood. I run this town. So, I think he was feeling himself. He had his kids there. So it was real obvious that if he kind of was 50-50 on if he was going to win, but he was fairly confident. And Derrick Lewis showed himself to be uninspired. And the reason why he showed himself to be uninspired, in my opinion, is what ended up turning out to be true. He ended up announcing that he might be retiring. Brian Stan, announcer, tried to commentator tried to get more information out of him. Do you mean you might, or are you definitely? And he kind of went into, this is going to probably be my last fight. He kept putting that little probably maybe in there, but yeah, I mean, once a guy starts talking like this as a fighter, I mean, it's not a team sport. When a guy starts talking about retirement, you guys know how it is. He's got one foot out the door, and you can't win any fights that way. So, I mean, yeah, he can keep one foot in, one foot out. I know he's going to be getting married in the next couple of weeks, so he didn't really want to get his face knocked out too much. He had even said that he was going to end it early so he could save his beautiful face for his wedding day.
Mashed potatoes to be my lawfully wedded.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, when guys start talking like that, they're not focused. So I don't know if it just hurt his feelings that, his awesome 6-fight win streak came to a pretty uneventful end there. But Mark Hunt, the other thing that Mark Hunt said in his closing speech that shocked a lot of people, not shocked a lot of people, but it was shocked that he actually said it on record, was basically talking about how a lot of people, he appreciated fighting Derrick Lewis because he wasn't on testosterone enhancing, testosterone replacement therapy, rather, TRT. So, and Mark Hunt's been fighting a lot of people lately who he alleges are on TRT. We do know that that's been happening. A lot of people have been getting popped by USADA. So a lot of people want to see Mark Hunt fight. They feel like his better days are ahead of him. He's on record being a natty fighter. So good for him.
What do you think, BK? 42 years old? What do you think, man? Do you think 43? Hunt's 43. What do you think? How long is he going to be able to be a force, or what do you think? Because I know you said a lot of people are thinking that he's going to be able to do business. What do you think at 43 years old?
Well, Mark Hunt has never been that elite level fighter. He's never been someone that shows the. He's a bit fluffy around the midsection. He's a little bit like Roy Nelson. Really exciting fighter to watch. He's a man's man, but he's never been that imposing figure, if you will. I mean, he does have a threat in his right hand, his left and his right hand. He's got strong one-punch knockout power, and he can definitely take a shot, as we saw him take against Derrick Lewis. But he's never been that Brock Lesnar type of guy. He's never been that Junior Dos Santos. So it's one of those things where he's had a great career. Does he have a championship run in him? I think that's what he's going to try one last time to do here. I don't know if he's that elite of a fighter. What I do know is that what has probably compromised him is going up against people who have been cycling on and off testosterone replacement therapy, and some of his better fights that he should have gotten a decision on in his favor, he ended up losing. And that's been his whole thing the whole time, is that, I would have been a lot further in my career if I had not been getting knocked in the head by people who really were cheating. So it's hard to say if he has it in him. I mean, this fight wasn't something that. If you notice, I didn't do a complete MMA rundown. There was some stuff. Derek Brunson did have like an awesome fight. There's a lot of different people who had great fights. But this was a fight night. It wasn't a UFC pay-per-view event. So when you ask me if does he have much more of a career in him, yeah, if he picks his fights well. Championship level, it remains to be seen.
Gotcha. Well, all we can do is hope.
Yeah.
Wish him the best, man.
Absolutely. Now, something else that I mentioned is the reason why I didn't watch the rest of the fights is because something that had come up this week, over the last couple of weeks, Netflix has been blitzing everyone with their brand new seasons of Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Bloodlines. I do know that, you guys are all family. Well, no, we're not all family people, but we do all have people that we date, hang out with, Netflix and chill with, yes. So have any of you guys gotten into any Netflix and chilling on catching up on this media?
Well, I actually cheat since I work remotely. I have an opportunity to just have TV playing on in the background, so I've watched Bloodline and House of Cards.
Now, this man had an opportunity. He could have made up anything, okay? He could have made up anything. He could say, I've been having like 15 bad bitches in the house, and yeah, we've been Netflix chill. He chose to go the work route with it and tell on himself and incriminate himself.
It's like background music to me. I'm not completely paying full attention to it. I just leave it.
It's not a radio show.
Yeah.
It's not a radio show. It's a TV show. You don't put TV shows in the background. Come on, man. You got to watch them, man. They have actors, and it was cast for a reason.
I have
you want background noise. Get a radio show.
I have a big problem of giving something my 100% attention.
I got you. So what shows got your partial attention?
So Bloodline I finished up. This was the final season. I'm glad it's over. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it.
I didn't realize this is the final season.
The first season was amazing. Second season told me it needed to end. And I was glad that they announced this was the final season, but I'm not a fan of how it ended. I thought the first half of the season was good, and then it ended pretty weak.
I'm halfway through the season, and I'm at the part where it is pretty good.
Yeah, you think it's going to finish much stronger than it. I'm sorry, I don't want to ruin it. Yeah.
No, go ahead. It's a bit of a spoiler cast. So
no,
go ahead, bro.
It's just I wanted it to. Shows like that, I really want to end in tragedy. Just for maybe it's my own.
I want everybody to die.
Because it's a show about
the real
same
life
thing
ending.
with House of Cards too. It's a good show. I don't want to watch 9 seasons of House of Cards. Like, I'd be happy if this season was the final season because I want to start to see the downfall. I want to see his life fall apart. I think Breaking Bad really set the precedent of shows like this where the main character is not such a good guy. And
whoa!
Shouldn't have a
I'm
happy
breaking
ending,
in right now. So, no, shut it down, Nate. You just gave Breaking Bad, a show which stars Bryan Cranston, some credit.
Yeah.
Fired. Whoa!
Breaking Bad was an amazing show, but it sort of sets the structure of how a show should be. It should be a certain amount of seasons. It should be a contained story. They should know how it's going to start, what the middle is, what the end is. Don't drag it on.
Yeah.
Because it's popular.
Well, I think the reason why dragging on doesn't work so well is because we all know in reality that's not how it works.
Not anymore.
In reality, there's only so many steps ahead you can be in real life, and law enforcement is a lot smarter than people give it credit for. Like if you go back and watch that movie Pain and Gain, which is a funny movie, but it's chronicling something that really did happen. And while they do stylize some things for the sake of entertainment value, the bottom line is in real life you don't get away with it. Like Jack the Ripper got away with it only because it was in an archaic period of time. But if Dahmer can't get away with it, what
about the Zodiac?
A lot of us don't have any shot. Exactly. And there's even theories about what happened to the Zodiac even. So in real life, it's few and far between that people actually get away with it. I think that's the reason why we all love Breaking Bad so much, because it came to a resolution that was believable. But it can't go too long. So I think we'll jump into House of Cards in a second because I've been watching. I've watched all 4 of these shows. Bloodlines, yeah. Bloodlines is good. Where it's at right now for where I'm watching it, it's amazing. That's unfortunate that it I feel like this. I felt if this is the last season, I didn't realize it was. I'm kind of disappointed because it could have gone somewhere. I think that high end tension that made the show really good. You have to learn. Show writers have to learn how to draw that tension out, kind of like the way that Breaking Bad did or Dexter did in the beginning. I think that's the hard thing. It's hard to go down once you've raised the stakes so high. There's this temptation to keep raising the stakes, and you don't have to do that.
Yeah. The second season of Bloodline was just not good to me. Because it was more or less sort of the storyline was just a rehash of, it ended almost the way the first season did.
Right.
And, I don't know. Yeah, I just like watching downfalls. I just, I don't know. Maybe you'll have a different experience with the second half of the season.
I'll tell you what. I'll finish the season out this week, and we'll talk about it. Maybe come back and do like a short little note on it. Now, House of Cards we talked about, and we've even dropped like a little last week when we were talking about Wonder Woman. We mentioned Claire Underwood. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Claire Underwood. But anyway, this season was amazing. Derek, have you been watching? Have you gotten caught up on House of Cards yet?
I'm still a season behind because I just recently I just introduced Priscilla to it, and so I'm bringing her along so she can meet Frank Underwood, Claire Underwood, and just see his journey. She's halfway through season 1. I'm right at season 4. I'm about halfway through season 4 personally, but I still enjoy that show. I appreciate that, and I'm not one to usually appreciate a political drama. But within the first 5 minutes of ever watching this show and hearing the dialogue, the dialect, the banter, the wisdom, seeing how beautiful Frank Underwood can orchestrate exactly what he needed to happen, I was immediately interested in the show. But as you mentioned last week, you feel that it may be getting a little bit long in the season 5. What have you?
Well, the reason why I felt that way is because where you are in the show, season 4, and Nate might agree with me, or he may not, but I think he will. Season 4 was kind of, it was hard. It was a long watch. It was not the type of season where you want to binge watch it in one day. Like it was kind of like
example by the fact that I got stuck in the middle of it. You're right. You're right.
That season.
Still haven't finished Iron Fist.
I'm not a big fan of
season 5.
I still haven't finished
Definitely a huge step up from the last season.
Oh,
I will say this.
Yes,
though.
I'm so happy you felt that way.
Neve Campbell aged gracefully. She's.
Like fine wine. Like fine wine.
I'm sitting here like, man, she's pretty hot,
Neve Campbell. Oh. Absolutely. Neve Campbell.
Good
absolutely,
to see she's still working.
She gets the business. Absolutely. So, Neve Campbell, shout out to her. But, I mean, this season 5 really put it back to what the show was about to begin with. And they breathe new life into it because what made seasons 1 and 2 so good is while Frank Underwood was ahead of things, there were periods of time where he kind of got lost in the sauce a bit and got high on his own ego, and so that pride, that what's the word I'm looking for?
Hubris.
Yes, that hubris that he has. It's palpable all the time to the fact where he is talking to you, breaking the fourth wall, and he's almost indulging in bringing you along, and like he's almost teaching you the ropes, like you're his child. And you kind of are like, yeah, but how lucky can this guy be? And so, but he at the last minute, there's like this plan that you didn't realize that you think he tells you everything as an audience member, and at the last minute he pulls out something in both seasons 1 and 2 that even you didn't know about. And he sometimes has to apologize to you about it and say, oh, well, what did you think I was going to do? Like, what do you expect me to do? You expect me to just tell you everything, or ask you for permission? So this season you get more of that. You get more of that, I was planning this all along. And also, on top of that, you get a sense of he's lying sometimes when he says that he was thinking of something all along. Like, you get a sense that he's better at thinking on his feet and making lemons out of lemonade than being this guy that's like 15 steps ahead. Would you agree, Nate?
Yeah, and I liked it. Well, this goes back to what I was saying before, is because at the end of the season, you're starting to get the sense of, okay, I'm going to start to see the downfall, And that's so I'm hoping.
As Nate says with an evil grin across his face.
I really hope there's only like a season, left. I really don't care to see seven seasons of House of Cards.
In order to give us the show I think we all deserve, I think they need to just pull out all the stops next season and move on from there, and maybe set it up for a revisiting of these people later on down the line. But we don't have to see another season immediately. Absolutely. And I think a lot of shows don't do a good job of that anyway. I think a lot of shows are tempted to try, and of course it's because of the machine. You gotta keep providing content. People have jobs on the line, so you want to ride this until you get to the next thing. But there is something to be said for shows that have a set life cycle. Like, for example, Ryan Murphy is amazing at that. Ryan Murphy is amazing at creating shows that have a expiration date on them and writing a script that accomplishes that task and then moves on to the next storyline or story arc rather. So for sure, I agree with you. House of Cards after this season probably needs to go ahead and wrap up, and if it doesn't, then I don't know what we're gonna do. Meanwhile, speaking of other shows that are getting long in the tooth, we got Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which it's a little different because it's a comedy. So comedies can kind of break the mold because they're more like Saturday morning cartoons or old episodes of the Three Stooges, in that you don't have to have an overreaching arc. I mean, everything is new all the time. But Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, it's a show that grew on me. I'm not a big fan of it. My wife loves it. There's a community of people who love that show, and it's one of those shows that was on in the background while my wife watches it. She kind of gets it in right before she goes to work in the morning, and watches them that way and digests them. And then what's crazy is I would get up for work, and then I'd hear a few things here and there, and by the end of it, I'm watching season 3. So it's an incredibly funny show. If you want to laugh, guaranteed laughs on this show. Nice. Anybody else a Kimmy Schmidt fan?
No, silence.
No? All right, we'll move on. Exactly. And then rounding out the 4 shows that Netflix has that has just started over the past couple weeks is Orange is the New Black, and it's the newest of those 4 shows. I binge watched that entire season over Friday and Saturday. Actually, it was just Saturday. My wife and I sat down and watched it all. She ended up going to bed because she's not feeling so well. So I ended up finishing the last 2 episodes. But don't feel too bad for her. She has a TV upstairs, so she can watch it up there. But yeah, it was really good season. It's another show that last season it was getting long in the tooth as well. But this season definitely took a step up.
I never even finished the last season because that's another show where I've sort of lost interest because it just seems like it's dragging on.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, last season was kind of well. You know what's crazy about that show is it's a show that has a set agenda in terms of who the characters are that are the leads, and yet what's happened is the characters that are supposed to be supporting characters have become the main characters.
Yeah.
Tasty, for example, is supposed to be a supporting character. This season is all about like Tasty.
Wait, who is? Which
whereas,
one is she?
She's the black girl, the chubby black girl.
Oh.
Yeah, who has that friendship with? I see. I got to be careful. I don't want to ruin it for you.
I'm probably not going to.
But anyway, exact. Well, I mean, Derek, have you seen last season yet?
No, not yet. But go ahead, man.
Then I won't ruin it. That's one thing.
Okay.
Now, see, movies is one thing. Movies, I don't mind spoiling on this because it's like a 2-hour storyline type of thing. I feel really bad spoiling long
30 hours.
because it's because the content is evergreen. That content will be good, 15 years from now. Whereas with a movie, they get, because of the short period of time and the high octane type of blockbuster quality they try to inject into summer movies in particular that we talk about on the show a lot. It tends to get dated very quickly in ways that shows, don't, which I'm not quite sure how that is. I don't understand how Dexter seasons 1-3/4, Lost, keep naming them. Are shows that, Breaking Bad, another one, shows that have not been on really for the last few years, but yet you can go back and watch them and they're still just as good as the day you watched them to begin with. Whereas if you go and watch Superman or Batman, the movie,
they don't
it's
hold
like,
up.
oh my God, why is Prince singing to Batman? It's like, I don't know what that is. Why is it? What do y'all think that's about?
Just that was what was popular at the time.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Movies are a snapshot of pop culture personified into a hour and 40 to 2.5 hour movie because they want to captivate the audience. They got to get the quick burn on the opening weekend, and they want people to see something that they can relate to right now and forever, which is why a lot of movies that are going to be able to be rewatched over the next few years, they don't usually do so well in the box office. And another thing goes perfectly to like the Academy Awards. How often are movies that win Best Picture enough, this movie's been out for 9 months, I've never even heard of it, but I guess I'll go watch La La Land, those type of things, even though obviously I've heard of it, but those type of things, as you use the term often, BK, movies versus film. Movies rarely hold up, however, film, that's where the effort usually comes in my opinion.
Absolutely. I appreciate that take. I'm gonna have to hook you up on that. Very good point. Very good point. Yeah. So my point in all of that is that on the show, I think that's the reason why if you're listening to this and you're like, well, why is it that normally they will go ahead and tell us what happens, or they'll roll over it so I can kind of digest what I think about it. For long form series, you got to be careful. I think we ethically feel like we need to kind of not spoil it for everybody.
It's a TV show. They have so many hours that they can go dedicate to this. Like a movie would be like, hey, man, it's 2 hours, and we usually tell you, hey, we're going to talk about this movie. It's a spoiler cast. But, if you have 4 or 5 seasons of a show that you can go watch that we think as the, cumulative player weight think is good, we're not going to tell you, all right, so here's how it ends.
Well, I think it's also, too, where we're at in the development of television being a powerhouse medium, which is still something that is fairly recent in the last 20 years, 15 to be even more specific, of TV being something that is not, people used to call it the small screen. People don't refer to television as a small screen anymore. That medium is in many ways more powerful than even film is. Right. And that's the reason why film has even become this place where studios are trying to find ways of recycling franchises in ways that make it a universe, because it's creating a serial of the content so that you can come back to it and that it can kind of have that playability that House of Cards Season 2 has. Like Season 2 of House of Cards, if you spoil what happens in the first couple of episodes, then it doesn't really... There's got to be this roller coaster feeling to really appreciate what a show is all about. Whereas if you find out that Batman and Superman's mom's name is Martha, and that's, important to the final...
What did you say? What did you say? Why did you say that name?
Or if you find out that, what is the... What's the movie with M. Night Shyamalan recently?
Split.
Yeah. Or, for example, like with Split, does it really ruin the movie for you if you find out that this is an Unbreakable sequel and you see Bruce Willis at the end of it? Not really. If
because
anything,
it's
it
just
kind of
a
enhances
little,
it and makes you want to see it.
It actually is a legitimate Easter egg because while looking at a movie and you see an Easter egg throughout the movie, you just appreciate it in that moment, but it doesn't detract from the plot. You're like, no one was like when they saw Wonder Woman, oh, the ice cream thing, cool. That was in the comics. That was in Justice League War. Cool. I appreciate it. On to the next, on with the movie. The M. Night split, it doesn't ruin the movie at all. It's just something in there. Now, it might be something that someone may be surprised to see. Oh, you took away from the surprise. However, the movie suffers zero from knowing that little tidbit.
Yeah. I think if film studios can figure out a way to bottle that investment that you can build with characters within a season and over several seasons, that Netflix and Hulu series, and because we haven't even talked about some Hulu series, that's another one we need to talk about like another time. For example, Red Eye, that's a good one to talk about. But anyway, my point is that studios,
not everybody
can
do movie series like Marvel does movie series, right?
I'm telling you, if they can figure out how to do what Marvel is doing, then you got it. Then now film has found a way to survive,
to compete against
death.
television.
Well, and to survive that long death. I mean, the whole film, going to the movies business, that escapism that people have, that studio heads have trying to figure out, how do we recreate that? People who are in charge of different movie theater franchises, how do we capture and reclaim, hey, let's go out to the movies this weekend instead of staying at home, because you have your own recliners at home and you have all these things. So now we got to take it to the next level. At first what Hollywood thought was going to be the answer is, oh, let's put everything in 3D. And good Lord, I'm so happy that ended up not being the truth. What ended up being the truth is the studio movie grill type of things, and the reclining seats that go all the way down, and the high-end furniture that would cost an incredible exorbitant amount of money to get
The theaters that serve alcohol now. Who's your audience at the theater? It's people over 21. Yeah, kids go to the movies, but what about the parents that have to drag their 4 teenagers to the movie? They want to go. I submit this to you. When I saw Wonder Woman, there was a mom there that had 6 girls there. She went down to the bar twice and brought up wine back to her seat. Could she have done that 15 years ago? No, but she's at the movies doing it now. They had to figure out a way. They got the recliners now, like you said. You can eat there, yeah, but you can also drink there. That's a huge pull. Let me grab a drink before the movie at the theater. Convenience. How can we make it more convenient for people to come see our movies? Build better theaters, and they're doing that, definitely. And plus, they got to make better movies.
I think the next step of the evolution of the theater-going experience is they sort of had this...
that New York 4D experience, BK?
No. Look, I'll tell you, I saw Star Wars in 4D, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. Because after 2 hours, you're just getting shaken around, and then mist sprays you in the face at the end of it. And it's just almost like, this is what a porn star must feel like.
With Nathan.
You just get shaken around for a couple hours and then blasted in the face. That's what my Star Wars in 4D was like.
Hello, ladies.
But no, I think the next evolution is...
Shout out to Valdez.
They sort of have this thing, and it's not with... But in Korea, they have sort of like how, you have karaoke rooms.
Yes.
So what they also have these things. Same thing with DVD rooms, where you go in, you pick a DVD, you get your own little room. You're with your friends, you're with your significant other, whatever, or you could be by yourself and just watch a movie. So I think that's going to be where you can rent out private rooms in theaters for you and your friends to watch a movie. You get meals, you get drinks, whatever you want. And
it doesn't even have to be like a full on,
not like a fine dining.
Because I know what you're talking about. Because in the part,
private, intimate.
Well, no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Because I live in the part of Atlanta everyone calls K-Town. It's in Gwinnett County, north of Atlanta, north of 285. So it's in K-Town, or short for Koreatown. And so there's a lot of these types of places, the high-end karaoke places, where you can either go to the traditional bar experience and do karaoke in front of everybody, or you can pay to have like a little VIP room where they bring you drinks and bring you food, and you can have it for however many hours you pay for, which is an amazing experience. I highly encourage anyone who has anything like that near you to venture out and do it. It's an amazing experience. But even if they don't have something that private for a theater, even if you had smaller groups of people, like a 20 group person theater, for example, like when you go and see a movie, if you see one of those like 4D type experience things at like Epcot or something like that, there's not like 100 people with you on that ride. There's like 15 to 20, maybe 25 people. And because it's a smaller group, a smaller audience, you have a connection with the people on the ride.
More intimate
like
experience.
Yeah, more intimate experience. And like Derreck and I are the type of people to like pick on people and talk with people, and you kind of introduce yourself to people because there's going to be this shared experience that you're about to have. If you're going to be on the Hollywood Tower of Terror, if you're going to be on the Hollywood Tower of Terror and you've been on it before, people are like, hey, have you been on this before? And then you start having this conversation.
It's
so
what
I like about going to the movies, what I love about going to the theater
there is one out there,
is to be able to connect with people who are watching it. And like, for example, at the end of Wonder Woman, I said out loud, I was the only person in the theater to say this, are you kidding me? DC, where the hell is the after credit scene? And everybody who was still there, which was about 15 to 20 people, laughed. And we ended up having a conversation afterward because there's this need, as human beings, we're social. So we do have a need to want to feel safe, which is where the need for privacy comes from, that idea of VIP. That luxury need comes from, but then at the same time, we're also still social. We want to be in the VIP section, but we also want to be near other people to connect with, because what is the experience if not witnessed by other people, which is the whole idea of taking food pictures and making posts of, hey, I went down to the street and did this today, or I laughed about this joke today. So when theaters can figure out that social experiment, that social media experience that we get on Facebook and through Twitter and Instagram, and it allows us to have both privacy but also social connection, that's when the next level is going to come together for film and that going to the movies market, if you will, for lack of a better term. But in the meantime, to get back to the higher point I was trying to make to begin with, is while that's going on, the physical aspect, the psychological aspect is also being worked on in Hollywood, and they figured out, okay, Netflix and Hulu and YouTube Red have figured this out. How do we do this with movies? And Marvel is the first film company, the film studio, to figure it out, which is why, you have this thing like the Dark Universe with the Mummy happening. Which, by the way, any of you guys watch that this weekend?
Yeah, let's do that.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Yes, can I have your attention, please? Box office hustle.
All right, it's time for the box office hustle.
All right, cut and print. Beautiful guy.
I was going to see
Definitely
it, but
only-
then I just continued to go
Decided
on and
not to.
live my life.
I was going to go see it, then I decided to brush my teeth instead. Yeah.
So, Derreck, so I take it you're the only one of the three of us that saw it.
I am, and to be honest, I mean, from one of the things that you just mentioned, at the start of this movie, from the Universal logo rotating around to reveal the Dark Universe graphic, that was really cool, and it just the movie just continues to drop breadcrumbs. The entire film just lets you know that there is a whole world out there of gods and monsters, and they're going to do their best to get a piece of that movie TV series, as we were just talking about, like what Marvel does. Now, to be honest, I do sympathize with the release of this movie, as it is sandwiched between Wonder Woman, which is soaring past 150 million domestic, almost double that worldwide, and then next week a huge family film coming out with Cars 3. And then after that, Michael Bay's vision of Optimus Prime as The Last Knight. This is a big month for movies. And so can The Mummy hold its own in the box office? I don't foresee that. Now, you and I, BK, talked about this last week in which you were like, you don't foresee doing over 50 million. And I was like, well, just for argument's sake, I'll say 50 million and 1 cent. But as you and I went on to say, now, let's be honest and real, Wonder Woman's going to eat most of this pie, which it did. Wonder Woman's eating this pie. It's at 57. Mummy's right now projected around 33.
It did
with
do.
regards to the movie,
Say that
It
one
did
more
do,
again. Say that one more again, my friend.
140 million internationally. So worldwide, it did 170 million. Which
Talking about Wonder Woman?
Mummy.
But we're talking about domestic though. This is
Well, I
America.
mean, I for one would love to see the Dark Universe. So I'm hoping.
Of course. I mean, I think that, and here that was my point last week, and I think we had that conversation offline. So apologies to anyone who doesn't quite know what we're talking about. But my point was that it was going to be a slow burn with this movie. I thought it was going to be something that's something that's been happening with Tom Cruise's films anyway. When you talk about Jack Reacher, that's been a slow burn. I mean, Jack Reacher 1 for sure was something that became popular through Redbox. It was something that when people saw the trailer in theaters, and that was like one of the first movies of recent memory where you realize how short Tom Cruise actually is. And then when you realize he's not very imposing physically, from that big wide shot where he's kind of hopping back and forth and kind of he's about to punch the guys in the parking lot, you're like, yeah, I would beat his ass. Like, for example, Demetrius Johnson, one of the pound for pound greatest fighters. He's more athletic than me, but I guarantee you if we got into a street fight, I would have a bit of an equalization just for my reach advantage. Now, he still would beat me. I'm not saying he's going to beat me, but he wouldn't be. I think John Jones would have a much better chance of outright knocking me out than Demetrius Johnson, for example. And if I'm wrong about that, then that just shows you the bias of what people think. So when we watch that trailer, we're like, yeah, right, Jack Reacher, whatever. But that ended up being a slow burn that actually turned out to be a really good film for Tom Cruise. So I think the same thing is going to happen with this. It's probably not a bad film. We're going to hear from Derreck in just a second, the specifics about that. But before we go any further, did we not have a bit of a contest about whether or not this movie was going to do 50 mil in the first weekend?
The contest was, as I stated before, as you know, I am a pro at spinning yarn, and I will go ahead and weave this for you. I did say I'll go with 1 cent over, but at no point did I ever think that this was going to go over 50 million, which I had to go ahead and put that caveat in there since that would go ahead and adjust that change. And but I'm not going to say I'm going
to let you finish. And I don't mean to shut you. And I don't mean to shut you down.
Kanye. But Beyonce.
But did I not say not a cent over 50 million?
No.
Domestic?
Yes, you did. You did say that. So you definitely did say not a cent over 50 million domestic, which it has not.
And then I think we also had a bit of a back and forth on whether or not Wonder Woman was going to remain first place this weekend and beat Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, I don't think either of us. I don't think either of us said Wonder Woman wasn't going to be first place. I said Wonder Woman won't make Guardians 2 money.
Okay, and you don't think so?
No.
But do you want to change that, sir?
No, absolutely not.
You still stand by it?
At the end of its box office run, I will guarantee with my last penny that it won't make Guardians 2 money.
Checking my resources presently, according to...
Give me just
it's
a
at
second.
150 million in 2 weeks. Guardians 2 was 180 in 1 week. How? Do the math.
Well, actually, I've done the math, Nathan, and Guardians is at 366 million presently. Wonder Woman is at 205 presently, and Guardians had 5 weeks out.
It can't be at 200. It made 100 million the first week.
This is according to BoxOfficeMojo.com.
Yeah, but it made 50 million the second weekend.
Figures. Yeah, 57 million, exactly. Yes, quite a bit.
But now here's the thing, and we were talking about this last week offline. Here's the problem that Guardians had that Wonder Woman doesn't. Wonder Woman's competition, it does not exist. Like it is like the natural barrier to Dallas, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia. It can just keep growing.
I would argue that cars would overtake.
The only way,
Wonder
as
Woman.
we stated last week offline, the only way we'll know is when we check July 2nd or July 2nd, which will be a month. Because Guardians came out May 2nd to June 2nd, and it was at 350. And Wonder Woman came out June 2nd, and right now it's at 205, Nate. I just want to let you know it's at 205 already in 2 weeks.
That's fine.
So by July 2nd, it's possible it could.
You got to expect a 50% drop off week to week, though. It's not going to. You guys can argue this to the moon, but I stand by my opinion. Go right ahead,
brother.
We should make a gentleman's bet.
Hey, that's what I'm trying to say, man. I'm trying to say that right now.
All right.
Let's get on with it.
Should we do it for more drinks in Atlanta?
Okay, it's time to do a gentleman's bet.
July 2nd.
All right, so what's the bet? What are the terms? Okay, so what's the deadline by?
I'm going to lay this out.
Of the gentleman's bet?
Nate's point of view is that Wonder Woman will not pull in box office numbers that Guardians has, and we're only going to look at a month snapshot, correct?
Okay.
So from May 2nd to June 2nd, Guardians was at about 350 domestic, correct?
Okay.
And from June 2nd to July 2nd, which we'll revisit this, we'll see what Wonder Woman is at. Now, I will.
So that's what you say. So Derek, that's what you say. So that's what you say. Hold on, Derek, because that's what you're saying. I'm about to sweeten the deal.
Hold on. Before you sweeten the deal.
All right, go ahead.
Nate was saying that it won't make Guardians money. So, Nate, I have to ask you before we.
He's already made Guardians money.
Hold on. I have to ask your opinion. When you say it won't make Guardians money, so when we check this again on July 2nd, are you saying it won't be within what? Because it has to be, if it's within 10 million, you have to at least give that to BK, or if it's within 20 million. So, what are you saying
I'm
that
saying
it won't be within?
It.
Like it won't break 300?
No,
it won't break 300.
Okay,
it won't beat what Guardians.
You said it won't make Guardians money. You said it won't make Guardians
Time
money.
out.
So all
Yes,
it has
Derek,
to
you're
do
on-
is beat
exactly.
Guardians. If I don't care if it's even with $1 million, you're not beating Guardians.
Okay, Nate.
That's Guardians
but did
money,
you not,
though. That's what
But
Guardians
Nate, come on, brother. Come on, Nate. Did you not say that it won't make Guardians money? You didn't say it wouldn't beat Guardians. You said it won't make Guardians
all right,
money.
then let's
You
give
saying
it a
it won't
$10
make
million
Guardians
buffer.
money means it's going to make.
How about that?
No, I'm gonna help you out.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Okay.
You ready? Let me load this gun real quick.
Do it live.
Here's what's gonna happen. In my opinion, Guardians of the Galaxy will get lapped by Wonder Woman.
In a month, so the month time frame though.
Period. It's gonna get lapped. It's gonna lap it. Trust me. It's gonna lap it. Guardians of the Galaxy will be out of theaters before it catches back up to Wonder Woman.
Autobots,
Okay, so
transform.
the best way to check this is we'll definitely visit this on July 2nd to get the month's numbers, but then long term, 6 months? November
I think
2nd
all we have to do
and
is
December
wait until-
2nd?
I think all we have to do is wait. Well, I guess we have to just wait until it goes out of. We'll know by
Until DVD release dates. Until
I think we do
DVD
a. I think we do a.
dates. How about that?
I think we do a
Blu-ray.
check. I think we do a checkup after July 4th weekend
Okay.
because that's another movie weekend. So we can expect bumps for both of those films if they're both still in theaters. Yes.
Deal. I'm
Okay?
with that.
And then we do another check 2 weeks after that.
I'm cool with the
For final.
We gotta
Go with the money. Go with the. That's what's up.
But
yeah,
what are we wagering? Are we just wagering another drink?
Well, I'm just trying to get out of the hole because I owe Derek
We
like
both
2
owe
rounds of
Derek
shots at this
drinks.
point. So I'm trying to just get. I'm just trying to look. This is like in the pool hall where you say, "Look, can you let me get my money back though? Can you let me get my money back?" So
I'll let you know this,
betting-
BK. I'll let you know this. Wonder Woman has already lapped Pirates by almost
Bruh.
80 million.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's real serious.
But I will say
man.
this: Guardians is still crushing Alien Covenant. It did 6 times the amount this weekend. It did 6 times the amount. Alien Covenant brought in 1.6 million. Guardians still brought in 6.
That's amazing. Anyway, if you want to know a little bit more about box office standing, because we do need to get on to the actual box office analysis of The Mummy and the Dark Universe saga. But if you want to know more about box office draws and and the goings on
Predictions, opinions.
with power rankings of movies. We have an amazing writer named Ian Townsend who is coming to us over from Dallas, Texas. He's been a writer with the Townsend Tribune, his own website, for a while, and so we brought him in as a longtime friend, but also as a professional who is an amazing writer. And he's going to be writing the Box Office Hustle a couple times a month, giving you guys an understanding of how to do movies the player way. So you can go to playlifeyourway.com. Again, that's playlifeyourway.com. And just you can click the metadata tags, and you'll be able to see the Box Office Hustle.
Puppy monkey baby.
Absolutely. Exactly. So with no further ado, let's go back to The Mummy, man. Let's talk about that. So give us a rundown. What should we expect, man?
Here's the thing. With regards to the movie, as we talked about offline last week, my biggest fear was that this would just be a generic action movie. And to be honest, for all intent and purposes, it is. There were parts where I wasn't sure if it wanted to be funny, serious, or a horror movie. The character of Chris Vale, played by Jake Johnson, was a humorous person, but just sometimes his interjection, along with some of the other somewhat cheesy humor, just took away from the seriousness of this movie. Now, if his character had more of a hardened exterior, maybe more of shades of Hawkeye, as an accomplished soldier with more of a dry sense of humor, I would have appreciated that placement a little bit more, because I just feel that it took away from this serious tone of the movie that was definitely could have been cultivated a bit more. So the silly humor at times was honestly my biggest flaw. So moving on to what I actually liked, it was entertaining. The action sequences were worth it, even though they were mostly revealed in the copious trailers out there discussed before. But I was always aware of the dark universe, and this movie does a wonderful job of leaving you wanting more, not necessarily from the movie, but just wanting to see what the dark universe is going to shape up to be. My absolute favorite thing was Princess Amenet, not because she was the mummy and main character and her portrayal. It was really just how she brought this to life. Sophia Boutella plays this part, and I was completely seduced by her the entire movie, and I was ready for her to sacrifice me for whatever she needed me for. I feel like they didn't really want to hear her out. I think that she had good ideas of bringing the god of death set to life, that maybe we should just listen to her point of view better instead of trying to get rid of her. But that's just me, because I was completely seduced. She had to draw in Nick Morton, who's Tom Cruise, and the thing is, she brought this sexual element that wasn't overly dripping with the average Hollywood sexual element of,
you said dripping.
What that is. Yeah,
I'm hearing it. Nate, do you hear a theme, a reoccurring theme in his analysis?
Yeah. He said sexual, and then he goes dripping, which is a very
seducing. My homie is giving this is his analysis. Anything for Salinas.
Despacito.
Despacito. Something burritos. Let me get some more Doritos. But honestly, she played shout out to Justin Bieber, totally killing his own career with that. He didn't kill his career. But anyway, honestly, she she brought this part to life. Even my girlfriend Priscilla, she was seduced by her just because she just brought that. And I'm thinking more like American Horror Story Hotel, like Lady Gaga's character in that, how she was so seductive that entire season is very similar to this. Now, I took an objective look at this because honestly, I didn't have high expectations for what, but I had an idea what I wanted this movie to meet. And you know what it did? I was entertained. I was excited. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. There are breadcrumbs throughout the whole movie, BK, and I know that's something that you would at least appreciate. It was well placed, and it lets you know that they have room to grow this monster hunting super squad in later movies. This does a better job of at least making you aware of that universe, better than Wonder Woman did with regards to Justice League.
You are watching a master.
But it's worth the watch. There's adventure, action, humor, though at times ill-placed, but the special effects were phenomenal. And are there better movie choices? Yes. Do you want to see a cool mummy in an action movie that is just entertaining to watch? Possibly. I don't know. Maybe you don't, but I did, and it was worth it. I'm glad that I actually saw it.
Can I ask one question?
No.
10
inches.
Do you see Mr. Hyde? Do you ever?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All I want to know.
All right. Well, here's what I like, and I want you to revisit this because it's something that they've not done a good job of selling in the trailer at all. Is that apparently by the end of this film they've created or recruited at least this monster hunting super team?
Super Squad, yes sir. That's what actually Dr. Jekyll, that's what his organization is. They are actually hunting evil
kind of like
throughout
the League of
world
Extraordinary
to find
Gentlemen?
and eradicate it and protect it. And you're actually kind of led into that whole society of what he's doing, like their team members and what they're trying to do and why they're even interested in the mummy in the first place. And the whole Templar story, the relics, the tombs, it just kind of comes together fairly well. Like, I know that, like I said, box office number wise, this isn't going to perform well. However, compared to what we have with Marvel out there and compared to what we have with like Justice League, those type of movies that are in essence an installment in a series, this does its part. I'm curious to see. I'm like, all right, well, what's the team that they're going to put together? I was left wanting more, as I said earlier, but not necessarily from this film. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this. This is something that's at least worth the watch. To just see how they're doing it. Like I said, their competition is vast, but their competition is thin. Because honestly, they have an opportunity to step ahead of the DC universe with how they did this one.
Wow, that's a crazy prediction. So that was actually going to be my next question. Is like in terms of shared universes, because Fox has a shared universe. We do know that Sony's starting one with the whole reboot and pulling in Venom. And then you got DCEU. And then, of course, Marvel is the gold standard right now. Are you trying to tell me, and Nate, that this already feels they're doing a better job at selling a sequel, franchise film better than Justice League right now?
To be honest, in my opinion, yes.
Wow.
Now, especially after seeing Wonder Woman and how we discussed last week how we weren't satisfied with, don't forget that she is a huge founding member of the Justice League, and don't forget that her influence extends out to Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, like, heavily. We just didn't get that from Wonder Woman when there was plenty of opportunity for it. This one, I can see that Jekyll is putting together a team, how he has all his relics, what he's been hunting in the past, what type of weapons he's using for the future, what he's wanting to have to defend the planet against evil. Like, it's very apparent that they have big plans to do this. Now, do I know if they'll ever be able to execute it? I don't know what the shared vision, Dark Universe. We have stated before that one of our biggest knocks on DC is that so many different directors have so many different visions of what they're wanting to do. So I don't know how they're going to be able to overcome that in the Dark Universe, but if they have at least a shared vision of where they're going, they'll be able to easily overtake at least that type of feel in an actual shared universe movie series type of films.
Oh, you just kept cocking that weapon, and I was hoping you weren't going to actually fire on him. I thought you were going to bow out. Well, maybe but you went ahead and fired right on sight.
We'll go ahead and remind everybody of Suicide Squad. We'll remind them of Batman versus Superman, and we'll remind them of Man of Steel. We'll remind them of those things, and the fact that it took this long to get Wonder Woman out there to even have a good movie above it. We'll just go ahead and remind the DC fans out there, no, we're not Marvel fanatics, but Marvel has been doing it right for 9 years. And for a movie like this that is not going to destroy the box office, to have a better feel of, oh yeah, there's going to be other movies about this? Cool, I'm interested already in one take. That's just at least showing how disjointed at least the DC universe is.
You are watching a master.
Forgo the actual gunshot. Let's drop the bomb. Man, this man just dropped bombs on DCEU's whole life based on their past transgressions. Exactly. Absolutely. Well, that's what's up, man. All right, so we're asking you. So right now, since you're the one who actually went and spent the money and the time, is it? Are you doing life the player way? Are you doing media the player way by going to see this film before it leaves?
Go see it. Go see it. It's a summer movie. It's huge. It's a retake. They give nods to the original Mummy from 80 years ago. They give nods to the Mummy from 99. They pull in their own mistakes from other movies, and you can tell, and they even kind of cleverly make light of it. And so as I mentioned earlier, like I said, there were some times I'm like, well, is this trying to be serious or funny? But overall, I mean, it's a good action movie to go see. I mean, you can even take your kids if you want. You know what I mean? So
if you go see this movie, you're doing it
the player way.
There you go, right there. So one last thing that I want to talk about before we get out of here. It's been a fun show so far. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely. Are you about to talk about my long-lasting question of, do scorpions view lobsters as mermaids?
Well, no, not so much about scorpions, but we can talk a little bit about Project Scorpio. At E3 2017, that's going on, as we talked about at the very beginning of the episode, Project Scorpio, along with some new Nintendo Switch games and all of the other things going on at the State of the Art, is happening at E3 in Los Angeles right now. Nate alluded to this, that he had, didn't allude to it. He just told you straight out his running path is right there. He just stunned it on our whole lives right there, and just said, E3 is just like right outside my window. Nothing big deal. Didn't even want to go see it. But
can you even see it from your high condo? Like, can you even see it?
No.
Well, anyway, his life isn't that good because he doesn't have a bidet. Over there shitting like a caveman.
Hey, he has a removable shower head, so who says he doesn't have a bidet?
I don't.
Absolutely.
Shitting like a goddamn pilgrim.
Exactly. Improvisation. I see where your head is at. All right, but anyway, we're kind of tight on time. I did want to get into a little bit of E3 details. For example, the fact that it looks like they've announced finally they're going to release Kingdom Hearts 3. So there's a new, if you go on IGN's Twitter feed at IGN, 2 hours ago, the new gameplay trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3. And yes, we're talking about actual Kingdom Hearts 3, not 2.5 remix, 1 day and a half, and a day and a quarter, 365 plus alpha. It's actual game, Kingdom Hearts 3. The struggle has been real for Kingdom Hearts fans. I am one of you guys. So once we get some more details, we'll give you some updates on that. Like I said,
there are a lot of cool trailers.
Is on site at E3. Just going to do a quick refresh of my Twitter feed and see if there's anything else I need to get out there before the end of the show. But even if there's not anything else, we're not going to go too detailed into E3 because there's so much content happening there this weekend that we wouldn't be able to do it justice. So here's what you need to do. After you finish the show, after you give us a comment and a like on iTunes, you're going to go over to Weekly Games Chat. Again, that's Weekly Games Chat. We've told you about it on this show before. They've done 2 episodes. By the time this episode comes out, both of their episodes will be out. They do an E3 prediction, so you get to hear critically what those guys, Christian and John, believe should be coming out as the state of the art at E3 this year. And then you're going to be able to hear the following Wednesday what actually happened. So definitely, even if sometimes we can't give you absolute all information because we cover a lot of different ground, we're at least going to help you understand how to do your media
the player way.
So head over there to Weekly Games Chat and take a look at that. If there's nothing else, what else you guys got for the week? Absolutely,
you
bro.
know what other trailer came out this weekend?
Well, before that, moment of silence for Adam West.
Yes!
You know?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we have not done a moment of silence in a couple of weeks. You want to give us a quick overview of what's been going down, man?
Adam West passed away. He was Batman, and, what some people still view as their Batman. It was a little generation before ours, so I didn't grow up with that, but
it was the first Batman movie I watched, I'll say that.
Yeah, where he had the bat shark repellent. The shark was biting his
leg. And the Bat Watusi, man. And the Bat Watusi.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
don't know, Robin.
People still love that that campiness that came with that sort of Batman. But, it's sad, At least, but he lived a long life, so.
Yeah. Well, in honor of, we do Moment of Silences almost every week, but this is a special one specifically because of what we like to talk about on this show. So in honor of Adam West, we're going to add a new drop to my DJ lineup. And now from here on out, you're going to hear this sound. In honor of Adam West moving forward, a new going to be added to our Rolodex of sounds. So
Repertoire.
If you will.
Black Panther teaser trailer dropped.
Absolutely, and that's the other one. Now that's not a moment of silence. That's actually that's what's hot. That really excited about that. Really excited about Black Panther coming out, man. Tell us a little bit about the trailer, bro.
Watch it. My first question was, how are they going to handle Wakanda? Because out of Age of Ultron, Mark Ruffalo, Banner seemed to know nothing about it, and they answered that within the first 10, 15 seconds of the trailer. So,
so you're, like I said, I've said this before on the show, you're kind of our resident comics expert. What is it about Wakanda? Because we know we've had some references to Wakanda, or at least that part of the world, in Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins Wolverine. And then we've also seen it a little bit in Civil War. What's so special about Wakanda, man?
So Wakanda in the comics was where adamantium came from. But since Fox holds those rights, they switched in the MCU to vibranium, which is the powerful metal that Cap's shield is made out of, that Ultron was made out of, and obviously what Black Panther's suit is made out of. It was housed in the Savage Land, which was like on the southern tip of Africa, so I don't know where they stuck South Africa in the comics. But instead they picked this dinosaur-infested land called the Savage Land. Here, in the MCU, same thing. You know, the idea of it sounds kind of ridiculous, so I was curious to see how they were going to handle that movie-wise, which I loved what they did with Andy Serkis right from the get-go asking Bilbo Baggins what he knows about Wakanda. And he goes, it's a third world country, textiles, things like that. And he's like, it's all a front, And then he goes into, the explorers used to call it El Dorado. Things like that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm happy with that explanation. I'm excited to see it, It looks very futuristic, very Asgard type of feel. So
yeah, absolutely.
Seems.
Have either of you ever watched the animated Black Panther series that was on Netflix a couple years back? Either of you ever watched that 13 episode series?
Did they have it on BET too? Wasn't it?
Yeah, they did as well.
I've not seen that.
Yeah,
myself.
Me neither.
Tell us a little bit about it,
it's
bro.
It's definitely worth the watch.
Tell us why we need to go see it, bro.
You need to go see it because it gives you the backstory of T'Challa. It shows the romance between him and Aurora Monroe. It shows the interaction, how intricate he is actually to like the X-Men often, as well as Iron Man and Captain America. It shows their first interaction in Wakanda as well, according to the comics. The animated series are usually much closer to the comics.
Yeah.
Dr. I want to say Claw, but don't correct me, Nate. The guy that ends up creating like the sonic vibranium cannon.
Yeah, that's
on his
Andy
arm.
Serkis.
Which that's who Andy Serkis is, right?
Yeah, correct.
But
isn't
that who
it
Andy
goes
Serkis
into
is?
detail on all that, actually.
Nate, isn't that who Andy Serkis is?
It is, yeah, Claw.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Because he lost his arm in Ultron.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
But I noticed in this one he had both arms, so I don't know where their timeline in that.
No, he only had one arm, I thought. If any,
I didn't notice. I'd have to go back and look. You
Yeah.
know what? I guess while I'm here.
While Derek is doing that, but yeah, I did have a question for you, Nate. Obviously, Chala's mom has white hair and is played by the woman who should have played Aurora Monroe, which is Storm, and the actress who should have played her originally is Angela Bassett. They kind of give a nod to that because people have for over the past 2 decades, even almost 3 decades, before the first X-Men movie came out, people have been saying that Angela Bassett should have been the woman who played Storm in the actual X-Men film. So it's interesting that they chose to play have her play T'Challa's mom, and she has all white hair as well. So I was wondering, do you think they're going to be able to bring, like, backdoor Aurora Monroe? Oh, wait a minute. Pause for a second. Do you think they're going to kind of sneak Storm in there by calling her by her actual birth name instead of calling her the X-Men name, or are they just not going to go that route with that character?
No, I don't think. You mean call someone Aurora in Black Panther? No way.
So you don't think they're going to, like, bring Storm in any kind of weird way, the way they brought Spider-Man over?
Well, Spider-Man was an agreement between the two studios. Right. As of now, it doesn't exist between Fox and Marvel.
Yeah, they're not having the romantic interest between T'Challa and Storm, like, at all. No. Which is kind of a bummer, man. That's a huge
But that honestly didn't come into the comics till much later on in Black Panther's history. So.
Of course. I'm not saying for this film. I'm saying eventually. Like, I mean, to me, I think it's more than a coincidence that they go and cast the woman that every fanboy online has said for decades should have played Storm, and they gave her all white hair. It's like, what?
In a perfect world, yeah. I would certainly hope Fox does either lose the rights or comes to an agreement with Marvel.
Yeah, they yeah. I hope they
just
come
work
to an
together.
agreement.
Why can't just Fox Studios just work together?
Because Fox makes
some
very subpar movies. I mean, outside of Deadpool,
can't they just figure it out?
Well, and my predictions, they're gonna fuck Deadpool up too. I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, that trailer, that teaser that we saw with Ryan Reynolds was lackluster. I really feel like they shouldn't have even released it. I don't think it added anything at all.
I rewatched Logan this week, and it's a good movie up until you get young Hugh, the second Wolverine. Like, that's... I've got an idea. 2 Hugh Jackmans.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this.
These 2 Hugh Jackmans fight.
Well, we talked about this last week.
Wolverine over there.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, that these inferior, if you will, companies start to fall apart is in the third act of these films.
Yeah.
Like, they have really good premise, and the reason why the premise is great is because the source material is there. So the movies write themselves. Where the studios mess up is they get to the third act and they don't know what to do with the source material. So there's a blending of intellectual property into utility. And once you take that source material and that intellectual property and you put it into some sort of utility, the use of it starts to kind of fall apart because it's being used in ways that it was never intended to be used in the first place. So I'm not sure...
It's the villains. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Even the second Wolverine I thought was a good movie until you get to, like, the huge, gigantic robot Silver Samurai. Like, why on earth would you go in that direction?
Well,
why not have him have a sword fight with an actual Silver Samurai? He has adamantium armor.
Well,
there's the conflict.
You know what my thing? Yeah. You know what my I think Derreck is giving us the watch symbol, so he's saying it's about time to wrap this thing on up.
At that time, these are good talks, but we got to wrap this up, man. We're trying to make that. Let's get that edited.
Cue the Oscar
music. You're absolutely right. It's going on for
Where's
a while.
my Dave Chappelle play him off box?
Exactly. So Derreck is shutting us down. It's time to move on and close out for this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be coming back to this and many other topics on the Playaway podcast soon. Hopefully you got a lot out of this inaugural Blitzcast. And if you like it, send us an email to playawaypodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's playawaypodcast@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to do another Blitzcast for you in the near future. But until then, shout out to my co-captains, Derreck.
That's me, corrupting the system.
And Nate.
Still putting the system back together.
Not with that lack of confidence.
Slowly.
He has survived your predecessors, and he shall survive you.
I shall rise like a phoenix from the ashes.
Ergo, irrevocably. Prestidigitation.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
after that.
Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Petersen, Derreck Lewis, and BK Jackson. Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it the player way. See you next week.